A hardened lump of pure cacao. No sugar, no milk, no softness. Just a brown, slightly oily disc about the size of your palm, wrapped in cloth, tucked into a warrior's pack right next to his obsidian blade. To anyone today, it would look like a piece of dirty soap. But to an Aztec warrior in 1500 AD, this little disc was a weapon. It sharpened his focus before battle. It dulled his fear. It stretched his stamina through days of marching, and it kept him alive through the kind of warfare that broke other armies. This is the story of the Aztec war chocolate, the original combat ration, the disc that conquered Mexico. To understand why a chunk of raw cacao ended up in a warrior's hand, you first have to understand who was allowed to drink chocolate at all in Aztec society. Cacao was sacred. Cacao was rare. Cacao was wealth, literally. The beans were used as currency across the empire. A turkey cost about 100 beans. A day's labor was a handful. So drinking chocolate was like drinking gold. Strict laws restricted it to three groups: the royal family, the high nobility, and the warriors. Everyone else, the farmers, the artisans, the commoners, were forbidden from tasting it. To drink cacao in Aztec society was a status symbol so powerful that ordinary people could be punished for it. But the warriors were the exception, and there's a reason for that. The Aztec emperors weren't being generous. They had figured something out, the same thing modern energy drink companies figured out 500 years ago. Cacao does something to the human body, something powerful, something useful in war. Modern science has now fully explained what the Aztecs understood instinctively. Cacao seeds contain about 25 grams of theobromine per kilogram. Theobromine is a stimulant compound chemically similar to caffeine, but unlike caffeine, it hits softer, lasts longer, and doesn't spike your heart rate as aggressively. It dilates blood vessels, sending more oxygen to the muscles. It boosts mood through a separate chemical pathway. It increases endurance without the jittery crash that pure caffeine produces. Cacao also contains real caffeine, just less than coffee. It contains anandamide, often called the bliss molecule, which produces feelings of euphoria. It contains phenylethylamine, the same compound the brain releases during attraction. Put it all together, and you have a natural cocktail of stimulants, mood lifters, and endurance boosters. The Aztecs didn't have laboratories, but they had warriors who took one disc of cacao before a fight and felt the difference. Now, here's where the genius really shows. On a long campaign, an Aztec warrior couldn't carry pots, water, fire, or fresh ingredients to make a frothy cacao drink. He needed something portable, something that wouldn't spoil, something he could pull out of his pack and use instantly. So the Aztec army turned cacao into a field ration. Workers would take the fermented, dried, roasted cacao beans, peel off the shells in a process called winnowing, then grind the cacao nibs on a stone slab called a metate until they became a thick, oily paste. The natural fat in the cacao beans, called cocoa butter, made the paste glossy and rich. That paste was pressed into small discs or hard tablets. Then it cooled, then it hardened, and then it could last. According to the work of Sophie and Michael Coe in The True History of Chocolate, the academic gold standard on this subject, these solid cacao tablets could last for up to 2 years without spoiling. 2 years! That's longer than most modern military rations. The high fat content sealed the cacao from oxygen and bacteria. The low moisture content stopped mold. The dense, concentrated nutrition made each disc a portable bomb of calories. A warrior could carry several of these tablets in a small leather pouch and have enough energy stimulant power to fuel weeks of war. To use the disc, the warrior would either shave off a piece and dissolve it in cold water, sometimes adding chili powder, ground vanilla, or maize flour to make a thick drink, or he could simply bite off a chunk and chew it raw. The taste would be brutally bitter, slightly oily, nothing like the sweet chocolate the world knows today. But within minutes of eating it, the warrior would feel the effects: sharper focus, slower fatigue, a lift in mood, a boost in courage. The disc didn't fill his stomach the way a meal did, but it gave him something more valuable on the battlefield: energy that lasted hours, mental clarity in the chaos of war, a small chemical edge over his enemies. And this wasn't a luxury, it was a doctrine. Aztec military campaigns often pushed warriors hundreds of miles from the capital into hostile mountain terrain with limited supplies and constant danger. Their staple ration was toasted maize, the foundation of all Aztec field food. But cacao discs were the secret stimulant on top of that, the fuel inside the fuel, the drug inside the meal. Without cacao, an Aztec army could march, but it couldn't fight at full intensity for weeks at a time. With cacao, it could. There's a haunting line from the Coe's research that captures the spirit perfectly. Aztec leaders called cacao a right and true potion for warriors. Not a treat, not a snack, a potion, a drink with sacred and physical power. The Aztecs even associated cacao with blood. They believed it strengthened the heart and replenished what was lost in battle. Modern medicine actually agrees in part. Cacao improves circulation, lowers blood pressure, and supports cardiovascular health. The Aztec gods, in a strange way, were right about chocolate before science was. And here's the part most people never connect. The Aztec cacao disc is the direct ancestor of every chocolate bar on Earth today. When the Spanish conquered the Aztec Empire in 1521, conquistadors brought cacao back to Europe in solid block form, exactly how the Aztecs had pressed it for warriors. European royalty added sugar, cinnamon, and milk. The bitter warrior potion became a sweet luxury drink. Centuries later, a Swiss inventor named François-Louis Caillet created the first solid chocolate bar in 1819. Then Daniel Peter added milk in 1875 and invented milk chocolate. Every chocolate bar that has ever been sold descends from the same pressed cacao technique that Aztec warriors used to make field rations. The Hershey's bar in your pantry is a 50-year-old great-grandchild of an Aztec war ration. Even more fascinating is how cacao kept its place in the military. During World War II, the U.S. Army developed the famous D ration, a solid bar of dense, hard, almost bitter chocolate designed to be high in calories, resistant to melting, and deliberately not very tasty so that soldiers wouldn't eat it as a snack, but only as an emergency fuel. The D ration is essentially a modern version of the Aztec cacao disc: hard, concentrated, long-lasting, made for combat, not pleasure. Today's MRE rations still include chocolate components in many forms, from Aztec warriors in 1500 AD to American soldiers in Iraq. The same idea has survived. Hard chocolate is a weapon. There's something almost poetic about it. The Aztec Empire fell in 1521 to Spanish steel and European disease, but the warrior food they created didn't die. It traveled, it evolved, it crossed oceans, it became sweeter, it became milkier, it became cheaper. It got wrapped in foil and stacked on shelves in every gas station on Earth. But underneath all of it, beneath all the sugar and marketing, is a 500-year-old idea, a bitter brown disc pressed by hand, carried into battle, used to sharpen the body and mind of a warrior before he killed or died. It's a strange thing to remember the next time you tear open a candy bar. The same molecule giving you a small lift after lunch is the molecule that Aztec warriors trusted before they went to war. The compounds that make you reach for a second piece of chocolate when you're tired are the same compounds that helped an empire's army march through jungles and mountains for weeks at a time. Chocolate didn't start as comfort food. It started as combat food. And only the sugar coating has changed. So I want to ask you something. If you could trade your morning coffee for a single palm-sized disc of pure, bitter Aztec cacao, would you do it? Would you carry it in your bag and bite off a piece before a tough meeting, a long workout, or a difficult day? Drop your answer below. And if you want more forgotten food history that's stranger than fiction, subscribe to Alternate Past. There's a lot more buried in the past than people remember.